Hello everybody and welcome to yet another episode of Cape Rugby here on Cape Town TV. Coming up tonight we'll take a look at the logs, the results, the fixtures. Of course we've got a panel of special guests in studio. We'll speak to Stefan de Tooy from Western Province Rugby. He'll give us our Evox nutrition update once again. Joey Salmons joins us. He's Western Province's #1 rugby referee. A host of competitions courtesy of the Leisure Group Hotels. Of course, Evox also giving away some competitions. But in studio with me, the panel tonight, Herman Abrams, Deputy CEO of Western Province Rugby. Hello, Herman.
Good evening, JP.
Nice to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
Mandisi Chanti from UWC. Hello, Mandis.
Evening.
Nice to have you here. And Pat Kuhn from Temperance, and of course a lifetime member at Temperance. Everybody knows you. Hello, Patty.
Thanks, JP.
Nice to have you
Thanks,
here. Gentlemen, it's been an interesting week. I think we could probably start off straight away by looking at some of the results there, Mr. H. There was a couple of interesting predictions though, and I think it's going to be an interesting show coming up. But let's look at some of the results then. 21-18 for Villages over Durban. We had Marvin talking about Durban's possibilities last week. They were quite amped and didn't quite make it.
Yeah, no, I think maybe the weekend was full of surprises.
Yeah.
I think it started with the Stormers, you know. And a few other people's wheels also came off. Like the Brumbies, like the Marties, like Durban. Even in Whistling Wheels, their wheels came off against Temperance. So quite a number of interesting results.
Well, we get to Temperance in a second. Let's quickly look at some of the other results then in Super League A. Mr. H, let's stay with you then. Belhar, again, we've touched on this a few times now. They're new in Super League A, up against SK Warmers. SK Warmers are fiercely proud at the moment about their record of being in Super League A. But Belhar didn't quite cross the line this weekend, 23-12.
Yeah, I think they, for lack of, the know-how in that competition, they could have pulled it off. There were quite a few chances that they had, but they got too eager to score. And at one stage, I was there, the game, watching them, and it was nice to see Ismail Dolly, run somebody in from behind and tackle him, which looked like a sure try to me, but he was there.
And what an amazing talent he is.
He's a great talent.
Ismail Dolly. Would have loved to see him get a few more opportunities on a global stage. I think he's done more travelling than most international players that we know of.
Yeah.
False Bay going, or at least getting a nice victory there over Helderberg, 25-15. They seem to be managing to maintain their composure week after week.
Yeah, that's interesting. They did that for a long time last year also when they started off the season. And one is quite, things are looking up for them. There's quite a few other clubs that have got the same sort of, approach to the game. Make sure that we win, even if it's just about a victory.
Yeah.
And if you look at the results, all the results are very close, except one or two, but most of it very close.
28-19 for a UCT over Marties. I mean, there was a big derby match over the weekend then. Marties, the shock loss then.
Yes, obviously when I inquired from them, just about before halftime, they were leading 19-3. And Bilius Potgieter, who's the guy in charge at Stellenbosch, I said to him, I just want to remind you that earlier in the morning a team also led 23 and they lost. He said, yeah, we are quite aware of that.
Yeah.
And it happened,
It does happen. And Hamilton's 32-31 then over Vix. I suppose we sort of expected that result. It's not really it's a tight game.
But it was close, yeah.
1 point.
In the last minute, penalty for Hamilton's.
Yeah.
And they pulled it off.
Patty, let's bring you into the picture here. Let's quickly, this is a Cape Rugby show. We feature, all rugby in Cape Town. So I'm going to take this opportunity then to ask you about the Stormers. What happened over the weekend?
Well, again, if you're up 23-3 at half time and you lose again, then there's something wrong. So it's a bit disappointing that we lost the game, but if you don't take your chances once again, it happens.
And what a fantastic try then from Gio Aplon over the weekend, one of our absolute favourites here on the show. During the show tonight still, we'll be chatting to Joey Salman. He is Western Province Rugby's #1 referee. He's also on the panel of referees for South Africa. And I'm going to ask Joey, what was the story there with Gio Aplon and why it is that he was sent off and we got a penalty try? I thought you could just run for the ball. Maybe it's a different story. Gentlemen, let's look at Super League B. Mr. H, we had Sali Suka here over of course, last week's episode. I mean, he called it, eh? He called it spot on. A draw there. Belleville against Collegians, 21-all.
Yeah, maybe we might get Sali back to make more predictions.
Mandisi, you've been around a while now. You played at Kales River. I mean, so Kales River is in Super League B. Going down there to Tygerberg. This is, of course, before you moved to UWC. Kales River's potential in Super League B, is it just a step too far for them?
I really think that they could do better. They could do really better than how they're doing at the moment. And I mean, based on the experiences I've been there, I know we had our ups and downs, and I think the shortage is really on talent and continuity in getting younger players in the game. But the players that have been there, they're still playing first team when I left 3-4 years ago. Yeah, so I think the shortage is really on getting new younger players to play for.
Before we talk about UWC, and we're going to get to that in a second now, is it difficult for the clubs, do you think, in your opinion, I mean, you're now an administrator of the game of rugby, is it difficult to recruit players, to get more players to come and join clubs?
Of course it is. I think money is attached to it. You're in Cape Town where bigger clubs really pay money nowadays to rugby players. And if you don't have that kind of funding, it will be difficult for you to get good players for your club.
Yeah, Perry, how do you guys survive at Temperance? I mean, you're one of the oldest clubs in Cape Town. How have you? And we're going to get to the history of Temperance in a second or so. But how do you guys? Is it just about local community?
JP, it's been proven, you know, in club rugby especially, if you haven't got families that try and sustain the clubs, you will never really survive. And like Medisi is saying, if you haven't got finance, it's a major problem. Fortunately, we have some people in the communities that still try and sponsor one or two other clubs, and that helps a bit, but you don't really get it, especially with the economy these days. It affects the clubs as well.
Well, of course, it's organisations like you in your private capacity that helps these clubs. As I said, we'll get to that in a second or so. Mr. H, we touched on this last week, the story about passion or cash, which one comes first. Primrose seem to have done a fantastic job at their side. But what is apparent to me is if you look at Primrose, they've got a youth structure that is an enormous youth structure that doesn't come from strictly close by neighbourhood. Kids are travelling from far away to come and play at Primrose. Is it something that they're doing that's different to than just relying on the local neighbourhood? They seem to be attracting kids from far and wide.
Yeah, if you take, I happened to go there last Friday and I found a colleague there who brings his kids from Kales River to Claremont to come and play rugby there, you know. And it shows that they have a good structure. That's the one thing, and they really do a lot of things for the kids, so everybody's happy to have the kids there. And they get the funding from the community. That's what's great about that.
Let's go back to the results. You mentioned this, we had the chat before the show. It seems like for some other reason we had a lot of draws over the weekend. Peniel, Villages and Brackenfell 15-all again.
Brackenfell, you know, they haven't lost this season. And then I said it's very difficult to play Peniel at home.
Yeah.
And you know, there is a draw and then a few other draws that came about, which is, it shows, you know, there's no easy games in any of these leagues.
The other result then in Super League B was, of course, Hands and Hearts beating Young People's 20 points to 15. Let's move to Premier League A now. Scottsdene, Mr. H, you'll be happy with this one. 1 point win for St. George's over Scottsdene.
They just made it there.
Yes, as you told us last week, your grandfather started that club. Let's move right along. Patty, you've known him for years. Does he always? He always talks about that. Elsu's over 40 points to 26 over Stelkor. Goodwood 25-6 over Rangers. Paarl beating Langa. Hamlets and Kraaifontein. At least the Hamlets going down to Kraaifontein then, 24-12. Let's move into Premier League B now. And Mandisi, let's bring you into the picture here. UWC going down to Solarians over the weekend, 22-12. What happened?
Personally, I really think when the game started, I really think we had it. I thought we were really going to win, and by far, I thought we were getting our 5 points. But as the second team started, I saw that we had quite a lot of scrumming problems. We couldn't get forward ball from the scrums, so probably everybody knows that we solely depend on our backline in terms of skill and so on. So we couldn't get forward ball to play our game. So there's quite a lot of challenges and handling problems, no support. We had 4 or 5 players who broke through the line, and there was no support, and we just couldn't convert.
Tell me about your experience having been in the Varsity Cup. UWC, of course, got to play in the Shield section of the Varsity Cup this year. And do you feel that they learnt anything there, or was it just a question of playing rugby in another league?
No, I believe it was a great initiative for UWC to really be in that competition, and I think our players have learned a lot. It goes to small things and bigger things in terms of professionalism and the approach to the game. We've learned a lot. I think we played against other very big institutions, to make mention CUT in Bloemfontein, who I think we've learned a lot, and I think our players also have grown through the game, and it's not going to show now. I believe so. Over time, it will show that we've learned quite a lot.